name is Jade Miles. I am with the Healing Forest cohort of 2023-2024. And here is my presentation on my experience of the cohort. So I was able to engage in this opportunity with Project Get Outdoors. They were able to fund a portion of my training to be able to be certified as a forest therapy guide. I'm super grateful for the opportunity, and it was an awesome experience to be able to work with the organization. In addition to working with Project Get Outdoors, there were also many other sponsors that helped contribute funds to the project. I've also been working pretty closely with Olmsted County to be able to figure out how to implement more nature-based interventions within healthcare. So I've had some opportunities to have conversations about what that can look like and different things of that nature. So what we'll be doing today is going through a little bit of my professional background, then also the expectations of what my expectations were for engaging with forest bathing, as well as the training. Then the next part will be the training, what it was like, how I experienced it, and then the last portion is how I plan on putting it into practice at the end. So a little bit about me. I am a mental health therapist and also a BIPOC specialist through Fernbrook Family Center. I primarily engage in individual and family therapy, and I'm also working with the organization in order to increase their cultural competence, not only for the work that we do with clients, but also within the organization itself. I do work with a variety of populations. I typically work with kids 10 and up, all the way into adulthood. I don't typically work with kids younger than 10, but our organization itself does. We have worked with kiddos as young as 2 or 3. I also serve all genders and races, as well as all socioeconomic statuses and all insurances. So we take both commercial and state insurance, which I feel like is a really incredible opportunity to serve people from all different walks of life and to be able to see how people navigate their world. And I think that's what was really great about this training, was being able to see how nature can be applied as an intervention across the board for folks that come from various walks of life. So some expectations that I had going into the training, I really just wanted to learn more about nature-based therapy. I have knowledge about things like mindfulness and meditation. However, I always felt like there was a little bit of a disconnect when trying to apply it with clients. Like, we could always talk through the interventions, but actually getting clients to engage in things like mindfulness and meditation, I felt like was always a little bit difficult. So being able to engage in the certification really helped me understand how to tailor interventions in order to make them more tangible for clients. And I feel like it also helped make it less intimidating, because going out in nature, I feel like a lot of times people don't know what to do. And so being able to go through this experience helped me kind of figure out how I would want to move forward with interventions if I were to incorporate them in the therapy room. The other thing that I liked about the certification was that there was also scientific backing for the interventions, because therapy itself, I feel like already gets a little bit of a rap for being quote unquote woo, But definitely incorporating things like yoga and nature-based therapy, I feel like get categorized into things that people aren't really comfortable with. And so being able to have some scientific backing for the interventions was really helpful. Um, and I can also make sure that I share that with my client in order to kind of get a little bit more buy-in from them if they're skeptical about how to engage in forest based interventions. I would say overall, I would rate my experience doing the certification an 8 out of 10. I would say this is mainly due to the immersion. I'm a pretty introverted person, so spending 4 days with people that I really wasn't familiar with except for being online with them was a little tough. And in addition, spending like an 8-hour workday with unfamiliar people was a little bit much. I will say towards the end of the experience, I got more comfortable, but definitely at the beginning, I struggled a little bit with fully engaging and opening up. So the training experience itself was through the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy, so ANFT. So this training was mostly online, but the training gave us a lot of different experiential practices to do outside of the online course. We did have an evening course, I believe it was for between an hour and 2 hours once a week in order to go over some of the material and get clarification on any questions that we had. I liked that we were able to refer back to all of the things throughout the training because it was super digestible, and I felt like when I was uncertain about things, it was really easy for me to go back within the information and figure out what I was looking for. I will say the unfortunate part that I didn't like about the training was that we couldn't access the material after 6 months of completing the training. So I did print all of the materials, but I do also like to have those digital copies available. So that was one thing that I felt like was the downside. So the structure of the training itself, it walked through various topics throughout the training. So a couple of examples are, teaching us what forest bathing is, what it means to be a guide and to guide people in a forest bathing walk, what is the role of the forest during the forest bathing walks, as well as the standard sequence. So for certification, I had to do the 6-month online course, which was mostly asynchronous. I also had to lead 6 different walks in order to become fully certified. And after I got my temporary certification, we also have to do the immersion in order to be officially certified. So the unique thing about the training that I went through is that the cohort that I started with was also the cohort that I did the immersion with, because typically the entity that I did the training through, they don't offer that. So I would have had to have found an immersion experience outside of that. So that was really, really cool to be able to experience my immersion with the people that I started the cohort with. I will say there was quite a bit of work to do between the assignments, the readings, as well as attending the online classes. As someone who maintains a full-time job, in addition to holding a couple other part-time jobs, it was a lot to balance. It felt like being back in college again. So definitely something that I had to be more mindful of when I was engaging in the training. So some highlights and challenges. Some highlights, I was able to get out in nature more. I absolutely love being in nature. However, with my work, I'm consistently inside talking to people, so I really don't always have to have the ability to get out into nature the way that I would like. It also helped me prioritize myself and my own nature based practices, again, because I feel like in the line of work I'm in, because I'm inside so much, sometimes I neglect my own self care and practices. So, this was an opportunity to really dive in and make sure that I was doing that. Um, Another highlight for me was being able to understand nature-based interventions and being able to better explain them to clients in a way that made sense and was digestible for them. Some challenges for me was the time commitment. Again, it felt like I was back in college, and so up front, I knew that it was going to take a lot of time, but I think I underestimated a little bit um, the amount of juggling that I would have to do between the class and the readings and the assignments and all of those sorts of things. Um, I will say too, because of the timing of the class, I had a hard time staying focused just because I typically would have had a long day before that. So it would have been really cool to be able to do some of the classes during like midday. As I had mentioned before, the immersion was very intense for myself. As time went on throughout the immersion, I got more comfortable, but I really would have loved more time to be able to relax and have space from other people. So, putting things into practice, some things that I wish I would have done differently were marketing for my walks. Unfortunately, I didn't always have the best turnout to my walks. So I think if I were to focus a little bit more on how I market to people, whether it's within my agency or even outside in the community, I would have a better turnout. The second thing I would change is definitely doing more rehearsing and practicing, especially with some of the more scripted parts of the standard sequence. I would consistently find myself kind of tripping up on certain parts of it, and I didn't always feel comfortable with those. Whereas with a lot of the other invitations that I would do, I felt more comfortable and able to do those more in the moment. Some advantages and things that I thought that I did well during my walks was consistently using the same path for my forest bathing walks. I think it allowed me to really get to know the space and get to explore different parts each time that I went on one of the walks. And then also letting the forest be the therapist. That is something that we learn throughout the training, that we are just the guide. We let the forest kind of let people engage with it how they need to. And I really noticed myself embracing that throughout and being able to what the training calls catch an invitation, or just be able to really listen to what the forest is calling me to in that moment and being able to identify different invitations I want to do from there. So how this will enhance my work, I will definitely be able to do this with my therapeutic clients. So I can take them out into parks and forests and different things like that, and being able to actually engage them in structured interventions versus feeling like I'm fumbling through different things. Um, and the other thing that I like, because I'm not as comfortable with working with youth, I think the training really helped me identify how to be able to structure my forest bathing walks in order to feel more comfortable leading groups of youth. Um, I also had the opportunity to take groups of youth out, and so oftentimes what I found is that they really struggled at first calming their bodies, but eventually they were able to settle in. I definitely needed specific activities that caught their interest. One that I noticed that the kids really liked is I was gifted through Project Go these Find It cards, and so they had various textures and colors and different things of that nature that the kids actually really grasped onto and really enjoyed actually taking the cards out with them and being able to find the different things within nature. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would place myself at a 7 regarding being able to serve youth with this practice. Again, I think that just comes down to my comfort level working with youth under 10, and so being able to continue to work on that, I think, is going to be in my best interest. I also would say that I feel like clients will need a lot of education before engaging in these practices, just because they, again, may think it is too far out there or that it won't benefit them. So being able to give them those educational pieces, I think, would definitely help. So just some pictures of the places that I went for my forest bathing walks. Quarry Hill Nature Center is one of them. That's located in Rochester, Minnesota. And then Bear Cave Park is located in Stewartville, Minnesota. So suggestions for others, especially if they're wanting to pursue this training. Um, I would definitely say that going on a forest bathing walk themselves would be really helpful. I was able to engage my coworkers in several walks throughout my training, and a lot really enjoyed the practice. A lot of people realized that they aren't actually in touch with nature, and they definitely needed to get back in touch with their surroundings and things of that nature. I also was able to do a presentation for my organization to help people understand the practice of forest bathing a little bit better. Um, I think it's also important that people should know that forest bathing isn't just going out and walking in the forest. There's a lot of intention behind it, and that is because I feel like folks here in America aren't as in touch with nature, and so they definitely need a lot of guidance when it comes to engaging with nature. Um, in the field that I work within, I also think this would help enhance our therapist work with clients just because, again, it gives people some really great tools to be able to give to clients, not only that educational piece, but really thorough interventions in order to feel confident when giving some of these items for people to engage in. In order to be successful in this type of certification, I really do think that people have to intentionally set aside time to be able to complete your assignments, to be able to actually get the full benefit of the training, because it's really easy just to kind of brush off some of the practices, but I feel like that definitely takes away from the experience. If possible, it would be great if people are able to do this with someone. I think that would definitely help with accountability and keeping people on track. So, some feedback that I had about the training overall from both an employer lens as well as Project Go lens. My employer did a really great job of allowing me to be able to take the training, and I had some built-in time where I could utilize that in order to attend the training. It would have been nice to have a little bit more time covered just because this was such a big certification and a big time commitment. It would always also be really cool to see my organization build the training into someone's 40-hour work week. That way they could continue to figure out how to actually implement the practice long term within the organization. So some feedback for Project Go as well. I thought it was amazing to be able to offer these scholarships and be able to cover portions of the training itself. I also think it might be helpful to spread out the training over a longer period of time, or at least being able to do the 6 months the um, of the training itself, but then extend the amount of time that people have to do their walks. As someone that was new to this practice, I definitely was very skeptical about leading in cooler weather. So maybe potentially doing a lot of the training within the spring, summer, or fall times of year to help people ease their way into leading walks in the winter. The investment of time and money definitely was worth it to me because I was able to learn a new skill. Um, I was able to learn a new skill and figure out how to better implement nature-based practices within my therapeutic practice. So in reflection, I definitely have a better connection with nature as a result of the training. My life definitely is overall better after having taken the training, as I have a better understanding of how to engage in nature and be more intentional about it when I'm out in nature. So often when I attempt to go out in nature, it's definitely from the lens of getting exercise or attempting to accomplish some sort of task versus just intentionally engaging with the world around me. So if you are curious to learn more about Project Go, here is the website that you can access them through. It is a really great organization that is trying to push nature-based interventions for the general populace to continue to support people's ability to get out in nature. And then here is my contact information if you ever want to reach out to me in order to talk about potential opportunities to host walks. Thank you so much. And again, thank you again to Project Go for allowing me to have this opportunity. Thank you so much.